only foreign speaker, and now Cpac is a global brand. Congratulations to Matt and Mercedes Strap for making it happen. And what a time it is to cross the pond. My country, you can't say anything or you might get put in prison. We're getting poorer. Everybody's miserable. We're governed by a left-wing, awful government. Suddenly, post-November the 5th, America is the beginning of the golden age in America. And it is all because of one totally... I can tell you that if you take on the establishment, they do not come out with a tray of drinks. The whole of the British establishment wanted us. Parties, all the big businesses, all the trade unions, and it was almost me alone saying, this is a crazy idea. We want control of our sovereignty, our borders, and our identity back with the British people. And for daring to say that, they made my life hell. But the tough times I went through are as nothing compared to what they put Donald J. Trump through. It went on for year after year after year. Endless court cases, mainstream media abuse, harassment of his family, debanking from some of the worst financial institutions, assassination attempts. And yet this man has come through it braver, stronger, wiser than at any point. He is simply the bravest man that I know, and we should all applaud him. And what a pick for Vice President. You know, very often, around the world, very often Vice Presidents, American Vice Presidents, are not particularly noticed, not taken that seriously. But after the speech at the Munich Security Conference, I think we can say with some confidence that the American VP is going to be a major part of global politics. And yes. I loved it. Did you enjoy his speech? Well, they didn't, did they? They absolutely hated it. It rather reminded me of my times in the European Parliament a decade ago, getting up saying the bloke had the charisma of a damp rag, and that rather upset them. But JD was right to have allowed millions of undocumented young males to come into Europe, many from war zones in which they took an active part, to allow those people who come in, and in many cases come from cultures and countries where women are not even treated as second-class citizens, to have seen the massive increases in crime, gang crime, dramatic increases in sexual crime against women, and yet nobody in the European establishment is prepared to put their hands up to recognise the depth of the problem and to say sorry to their people. And JD called them out in this speech, and he was right. He was right. He also mentioned free speech. Yeah. And I think there's a third figure in American public life now that is, well, I think he's a hero. Because if you remember 2020, in November, you couldn't say anything about the conduct of the election in this country. You then couldn't say anything about vaccines or about lockdowns without social media closing you down. And then along came the hero of free speech, Elon Musk.
Yeah!
He's fighting for free speech. And boy, if we don't have free speech, we're not living in a free, open, democratic society. It matters that much. And I think I believe that the talents, of the world's most successful businessmen going into this amazing Doge project. I wish him all the luck in the world and Godspeed. I really, really do. And now we very often follow you. American trends we tend to follow. You occasionally follow some of our trends. I mean, you gave us woke. And we gave you Prince Harry.
Amen.
No, you keep him, you keep him.
Yeah, we don't want him.
But in 2016, we delivered a political thunderbolt across the whole world, and it was called Brexit. And I believe that a wave crossed the Atlantic and helped Donald Trump win the presidency in November 2016. Well, this time, the Trump win has the ability not just to save your country, not just to make you freer and more prosperous than America has ever been, because undoubtedly that is what is going to happen. But it's also producing a wave that is now coming the other way, across the Atlantic. I had been retired from politics for nearly 4 years, but I decided last June I'd get back into politics because I couldn't bear what was happening in my country.
Amen.
And I am now leading, and in historical terms, this is incredible. I am now leading Reform UK, and we are now topping every opinion poll in Britain.
All right.
And we are going to win the next general election. What Cpac, what the activists have done in helping President Trump win 85% of the counties in this great country of yours, to win the House, the Senate, the majority vote, all those things you've done, the confidence of this man, surrounded by a great team, this is all going to blow back and help us in our endeavours and across the rest of Europe too. And I really believe that, like you, British taxpayers have had enough of sending £100,000 to Bangladesh to study shrimp behaviour. But we've had enough of free speech being cracked down upon. We've had enough of two-tier policing, two-tier justice, different groups of people being treated differently by the law. We've had enough of being told, you can't say that. The hell with it. Within the limits of what free speech gives us, we should be allowed to say whatever the hell we want. And we will. And we will. We will deport those who come into Britain by dinghy illegally. We will make sure that those who come to Britain legally subscribe to our shared values. In fact, in many ways, what we're fighting for is a very similar agenda to the one that you've just fought for and the one that you have just succeeded with. I will finish by saying, as a regular at Cpac and as somebody who has publicly supported President Trump and been a friend of his for a decade, this is a remarkable Cpac coming together. This is something to celebrate in style, to be proud of. You're going to make America great again, and we in turn will make Britain great again.
It's our America. We Values like honesty and fairness, great courage. A great nation needs a free press. Newsmax is it. 30 million Americans regularly go to Newsmax when they really need to know. They watch Newsmax TV at home. On the free Newsmax app, they go to Newsmax.com. Start today. Newsmax is real news for real people.
Welcome to Cpac. At Great American Media, we celebrate what matters most: faith, family, and country. Today, we invite you to experience storytelling that uplifts, inspires, and reflects the values we all cherish. PureFlix is your home for entertainment without compromise. With faith-driven movies and series, we bring you honor what truly matters. And on Great American Family, where faith leads, where stories inspire. Welcome home. Whether it's Christmas all year long, heartfelt romances, or movies that bring families together, we are here to make you feel at home. At Great American Media, our foundation is quality. Our promise is to always deliver entertainment that aligns with your faith and values. Thank you for standing with us as we stand for faith, family, and country. Enjoy Cpac. And remember, when you choose Great American Media, you choose entertainment that lifts you up. Join us and experience the best in faith and family entertainment.
Every institution today is under attack. The home, the church, the government. And many people are asking, what is the truth? Jesus Christ claimed the ultimate truth. Are you willing to face the truth?
Do you think the MK Ultra project ever actually ended?
The Central Intelligence Agency is actively involved in mind manipulation.
We all answer to one God and one Savior, and He's there to change your
Creators, it's time to take control. With Bursts, you create impactful content in seconds. Powered by blockchain, your content and earnings are protected, transparent, and yours to control. Play TV isn't just a platform. It's a community of creators building a new future together. Your freedom starts when you press play.
I don't know which one for sure, but I've got my favorites.
Hey Cpac Patriots, make sure to go downstairs to go check out all of our incredible sponsors for Cpac 2025.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Verdict with Ted Cruz and co-host Ben Ferguson, featuring Attorney General Pam Bondi.
Live, so I'm going to give you guys a countdown. You guys are going to be in the podcast with us. I'm going to say we're from Cpac. I want you guys to be as loud as you possibly can. Are you ready? Yeah. All right, here we go. Welcome. It is Verdict with Ted Cruz, live from Cpac 2025.
To be back with Cpac, and I gotta say, Cpac this year, there is energy, there's excitement. It turns out winning doesn't suck. And we have a guest. We have the Attorney General of the United States. Pam, I will tell you that there is some good karma to being on this podcast at Cpac, because the last guest we had at Cpac was someone named J.D. Vance.
Oh, he's a great man.
So, welcome.
Thank you.
You have been Attorney General 15 days.
It feels like 15 years.
I believe. Help. An hour ago, the Senate just finished confirming. I talked to him on the ride over here. He is going to do fantastic. All right, let's start. 15 days. You've come into what I think is the single most important cabinet position in this administration. Of Biden weaponizing the Department of Justice, using it to attack his enemies and to support his friends. So let me ask you, come into DOJ, you've got a mission. You've got a mission to restore integrity. Politicization. How do you do that? How do you get that done?
You know, the volume, Senator, what concerned me the most, it's the volume of how bad it was.
That's right.
And it still is. We're working on it. It's day by day by day. But we've got a team of great people, and on day one, I issued 14 executive orders, and number one is the weaponization ends, and it ends now.
Amen.
And that's what we did.
Let me ask you something. In the 15 days you've been there, how many DOJ employees have said something to the effect of, thank God?
A lot of them.
I believe you. Look, I spent 4 years hearing from AUSAs, assistant U.S. attorneys, hearing from FBI agents, hearing from men and women who believe in the rule of law and were horrified at the politicization of the FBI and the DOJ. And so I know for a lot of good, honorable men and women who devoted their careers to defending the Constitution, there's a lot of gratitude that they can get back to doing their job.
Their core function, and that's thanks to Donald J. Trump getting back in office. He gave us a clear directive, make America safe. And that's what we're going to do. And, you know, to start with the law enforcement agencies talking about cash, these men and women didn't go to Quantico. They're not risking their lives to waste their time on all this politicization and raiding Mar-a-Lago. Really? Stopping. All of that is stopping. And we are returning them to their core function, fighting violent crime. And that's what the great majority of men and women in law enforcement, DEA, ATF, U.S. Marshals, FBI, as well as the incredible legal team at the Justice Department, that's what they want to do.
So let's talk about one of the most lawless aspects of the last 4 years, which was the open borders that we saw and the 12 million illegal immigrants that have come into this country. You've had just 2 weeks, but you've hit the ground running, going after the criminals, going after the murderers, going after the rapists, going after the child molesters, going after the Venezuelan gang members. Tell us, number one, what you're doing as Attorney General that is making a real difference, that is already making America safer. And number two, I understand you have some breaking news concerning my home state of Texas, which I'm particularly proud to hear.
I do, and the press release isn't even out yet. Joint Task Force Alpha that we elevated once we came in office. It's with the Department of Justice and the FBI, and we work hand in hand with Homeland Security. Christina was awesome. Yep. We all work so well together. Joint Task Force Alpha just made a huge arrest in Juarez, Mexico. They were headed to Texas, to El Paso, human smuggling. Yeah, huge. That's why we do what we do every day. That's why these agents risk their lives every single day. It's human smuggling, and a lot of children they're saying are safer because of this.
Let me ask you a question. President Trump, and this has made headlines on what you were just talking about, we've designated these cartels as terrorist organizations. What does that allow you to do in your job? And Kash Patel now is the head of the FBI. What is that going to give you the ability to do and to go after them?
Well, Stephen Miller is doing a great job. They all right? Leading this effort with all of us, Mike Waltz and DOD, together, and it gives us the ability. They are a terrorist group. And it gives us the ability to go after them, more ability, anywhere in the world, and treat them as terrorists. They are terrorists. If you're bringing fentanyl into this country and killing our kids, you're a terrorist, and we're coming after you.
Dying in this country right now. When you took this job and you hear that number and you saw the inaction from the last administration, how angry did that make you?
So angry. You know, I was state AG before I became United States Attorney General, and fentanyl was really just coming on the market. And now with this horrible open border policy, just flowing across our borders, and killing kids, killing adults every single day. And it's criminal that no one was doing anything to stop it. I can't comprehend how any administration, progressive nor conservative, how any administration could tolerate that and let that happen. And it ended day one with Donald Trump when he shut that border. I was at the border back in September. I went with Laura Trump and Morgan Ortega.
Yep.
And we were in Yuma, Arizona. And I saw firsthand, there is nothing humanitarian that was happening at that border. Nothing. They have a rape tree where they're raping women as they're coming into this country. I saw firsthand piles and piles of passports just thrown from every country you can imagine, because the Biden administration was letting you walk right in the country. If you didn't have a passport, they said they saw Asian, Chinese individuals saying, oh, we're from Cuba. So they wrote down they're from Cuba and had to let them legally walk right in under that administration. But the drugs, the trafficking, I learned a new term, disposable child. The customs, the border patrol agents told me that they saw a little boy and they kept recognizing the same little boy over and over and over coming in. Because if you came into our country as a family unit, they just let you walk right in.
Yep.
Well, this little child was being trafficked.
Yes.
Now, how they were getting him back to Mexico is beyond me. But they were bringing him time and time again. He wasn't their family, so who knows what happened to his parents.
Well, and I will say, a number of people in the room gasped at a term you use, which unfortunately is a real term, rape tree.
Yeah.
And it's something that we've been seeing for the last 4 years in Texas. We've seen it in Arizona, that the cartels will go and violently rape women. They'll violently rape teenage girls, young girls, and then they will hang their underwear in the tree. And you'll find a tree down on the southern border with 10, 20 pairs of underwear as they're mocking law enforcement, saying, we can do whatever we want. And for 4 years, the Biden Justice Department, they just turned a blind eye, and they facilitated it. You know, you talked about the kids, so they had a policy. If you arrive with a kid, it's essentially a get-out-of-jail-free card. And so you started seeing a phenomenon that we've never seen in immigration before, which is single young men showing up with little kids. Now, that's not a normal pattern of migration, but we started seeing military-age men showing up with little boys and little girls, many of whom are physically and sexually assaulted in transit, and the same kid the cartels would recycle over and over and over again to bring in gang members, to bring in criminals. Now, let me ask this. What is most effective stopping the invasion at the southern border?
The border, closing our borders, which is what we've done. Donald Trump has closed our border. But now, of course, we all know we have so many of these illegal aliens, fighting age men, ages 18 to 35, in our country, walking around our country. And President Trump has a strong directive on that.
How concerned are you right now about the 12 million illegal aliens who came in under Joe Biden, and about the risk of terrorism, of Hamas, of Hezbollah, of Palestinian Islamic Jihad, the risk of terrorism targeting Americans across this country?
It's a huge risk, and we all know how bad it is now. And that's what Donald Trump is committed to do, is to take these people out of our country, to prosecute them, to deport them, to get them off our streets. And that's what all of these law enforcement agencies are doing. You know, Laken Riley, of course, that beautiful young woman, University of Georgia, Laken Riley is probably the most prominent name, but look how many Laken Rileys are out there. One victim is too many.
Jocelyn Numbry, Rachel Moran.
Right.
I mean, the numbers every day. And I gotta say, so already in the first 2 weeks, you've sued New York, you've sued Chicago. And are fighting, and I've gotta say, Massachusetts in particular, actually in our last podcast we talked about this, how Massachusetts continues to this day to have violent child rapist illegal immigrants who they release on the streets and they refuse to notify ICE. They refuse. These are illegal immigrants who could be deported immediately. And the Massachusetts officials take criminals who violently rape little kids. Let me ask you, what is your message to a mayor, to a local official who wants to defy federal immigration law?
Well, our message is very clear. I sued Illinois first, Chicago, first day, and I gave a very strong warning. If you don't comply with the law, you're next. And guess who didn't listen? New York. Kathy Hochul got sued. They all got sued in New York. And if you don't follow the law, you're going to be next. Because we are going to get violent criminals off the street. And Senator, it's more than that. They're endangering the lives of our great men and women in law enforcement.
Yes.
That's what people don't understand. When you're hiding illegal their lives, it's gonna stop.
So let me ask you, 2 weeks into it, you've been a you thought it would be? Is it better? Is it worse?
It's worse. Of course, it's no worse.
You inherited chaos.
Worse meaning, that department had completely lost its mission of fighting violent crime. Look what they did to President Trump. Look at the weaponization, and weaponization ended. And the deep state is very real. I think all of you in this room know that. It's very real. And people trying to undermine everything you're doing. 3 weeks into it, I went in one department and found huge 20 by 20 glossies of Joe Biden, Merrick Garland, and Kamala Harris still hanging up in my office. They're gone. They're gone. They're gone. That's what's replacing. A very handsome photo of a man named Donald Trump.
Okay, I like that one.
And replacing. But I make light of that, but that's what's happening. He had been in office 3 weeks, and the deep state still had those pictures hanging, and to me, that's defiant. It's insubordination. Not going to happen. But what we said, most people, the majority of the people are great people who went to law school, became prosecutors, became law enforcement agents to fight crime.
You've spent your professional life as a prosecutor.
Career.
How important is it to you to go after bad guys and get bad guys off the street and keep people safe?
It means everything. And the drug epidemic, the fentanyl just flowing into our country now, the terrorists, the gangs, TDA, Trans-State MS-13, all of the gangs who are now terrorist organizations. We've got to stop them. And that's why we do what we do. And we all have to work together. And working with Homeland Security has been great, too.
So one of the most shocking is the number 300,000. 300,000 children that the prior administration had in custody and that they lost. That they do not know where they are. We know that many of those children are being abused right now. Tell me about the efforts you and Homeland Security and the Trump administration, the efforts you are doing to find those children and to get them out of harm's way.
That's top priority, and that's Donald Trump's top priority, to find these victims and to save them. And that's what I truly can't comprehend how any administration would let that happen and not care. And that's what we're all fighting for. And you say when you take a job with this incredible volume, you think, how do you do it? How do you focus every day, and you do it by saying, if I can save one life, it's worth it.
Well, it's a lot more than one.
But it compounds. That's why you start off with one life.
And it is thousands and ultimately more. So I want to say something to the folks here at Cpac, which is, as many of y'all know, Ben and I do this podcast, Verdict with Ted Cruz. We do it 3 days a week. We do it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We've got roughly 1 million unique listeners all over the country. And to go directly to the American people and to bring the truth and bring the facts. So I want to ask everyone here, many of y'all already subscribe to the pod, but I want to ask everyone here to pull out your cell phone right now. Pull out your cell phone and text the word verdict, V-E-R-D-I-C-T. Text the word verdict to 24005. Again, 24005. When you text verdict to 24005, what you'll get back is a link to subscribe to the podcast. Now, if you're under 40, you know what I'm talking about. And if you're not, ask your kids or ask your grandkids. Although I'll say, if you're at Cpac, you're pretty hip and connected. So you may know as well if you're here at Cpac. But every Monday...
And subscribe doesn't mean it costs you money to quote your dad.
Oh, my father points out that my dad is 85, and he said when he hears subscribe, he thinks it's a magazine subscription. There's no charge. It just magically appears in your phone early in the morning on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And we bring in guests like the Attorney General of the United States, and we focus on what is happening, the victories that President Trump is winning, and the news that the corporate media won't cover.
That's right.
I want to ask you...
24005.
I want to ask you a question. It's one that I've been dying to ask you, and it deals with all of the pardons that were given out from Joe Biden at the end. There were a lot that went to his family. It is what it is. There's one person he did not pardon. That would be himself. There are a lot of people that think there should be accountability. Should this be something that is looked at to see what he did while he was president?
Yes!
Don't you find it very interesting, though, that they attempted to prosecute the president for having documents in the most secure place in the world other than the White House, Mar-a-Lago, and he had the security clearance to take them. Yet Joe Biden, who had no security clearance to take them at the time, had them in his garage with his drug addict son going in and out of his garage. Yet what did they say about him?
Too old to prosecute.
Frail old man. But listen, Donald Trump and I have not talked about that at all. This is not about targeting. This is what they do to us. This is not about targeting. This is not about weaponization. This is about keeping America safe and going forward and prosecuting violent criminals. If you committed a crime in this country, no one is above the law.
Garland.
No one is above the law.
Millie!
So Pam, the media are going crazy about New York Mayor Eric Adams and the charges that were dismissed against him.
So glad you brought that up.
Tell us what the story is, what happened there, and then why were the charges dismissed?
Sure. And Emil, who has done an incredible job, he worked on this case, he looked at this case. It was an incredibly weak case filed to make deportation harder. That's why they did it. They took one of the biggest mayors in the country off the playing field in order to protect their sanctuary city. This case, it was so incredibly weak. It was about increases in airline tickets, upgrades in airline tickets in his official capacity, without getting into all the details of the fact. I don't even think it could survive a verdict. Excuse me. Incredibly weak case. That is the weaponization of government.
That's lawfare.
That's lawfare. When you're filing cases like that to keep someone who criticized Joe Biden, who said they took away his security clearance so he could not get the details, so he could not help enforce the deportation efforts in New York. And these people are going after him. Ride a subway in New York. It's not safe. Yep. Violent crime is at an all-time high, and that's what they're doing. So it's not about weaponization, it's about ending their weaponization of the government and fighting violent crime and enabling cities like New York and mayors like Eric Adams to enforce Donald Trump's immigration policy.
Amen.
I want to ask you, and go back to something you said a moment ago. We were talking about cartels, and they have been able to set up networks, and we see this coming up now more often, where they're controlling states and cities and states and the entire flow. And they've been able to do this and set it up without having to worry that anyone's going to stop them. We're seeing this not on border states, but all over the country, this network. At what point do we get to start dismantling that? How long does that take? How much time is that going to take? Because they've been here for quite some time with the last administration.
Yeah, there's a lot I can't talk about now. But very publicly, I think you've seen a lot happen. A lot is happening every day. Our great men and women in law enforcement are out there. It's a joint effort with our office and with Christy Nome. And again, we all work so well together, whether it's Mike Waltz.
Y'all are friends. I think people don't understand this. Like, this is a group in this administration, and you and I have talked about this on the show. You guys are friends. Like, y'all know each other before you got here. How important are those relationships that you say, hey, I trust you, I trust you, I trust you, I got your back, let's go to work.
Vital and crucial.
And Mike Waltz and Christy, we're on the phone with each other all the time. And to change the topic just a little bit, just to give you an example, Lee Zeldin, a dear friend of mine.
Great guy.
On President's Day.
Running the EPA now.
EPA, Lee Zeldin, great administrator of EPA. I'm on the phone hours with Scott Besson, our Secretary of Treasury, and Lee Zeldin. And, you know, we've seen, thanks to Elon Musk, my buddy's great work.
Yep.
And it's been reported, look what they're doing at EPA. I'm changing the subject a little bit, but they're giving out billions of dollars after Joe Biden lost the election, trying to push this money out the door.
Virtually shoveling cash out the windows.
As they said, gold bars.
Yeah.
Let's throw all the gold bars off the ship.
Yep.
And we're stopping them. We're stopping them in real time. We're going after them. We all pick up the phone and we talk directly to each other. So we're able to work together. Talk to Marco Rubio and look at the men like Steve Witkoff out there, Rick Grinnell, what they're doing, working with Marco and Mike Waltz and all the people that they're saving around the world. And that's thanks to one man, Donald Trump. He put all of us in these positions.
Well, and
there's a turf wars.
The consistent thread of the cabinet nominees is that you're all change agents. You all came in with a mission, and it is, listen, there has never been a first month of any presidency in the history of the United States of America like the last 30 days. Turning to my Democrat colleagues in the Senate and just deadpanning, well, 3 years and 11 months to go. And they start twitching. They have facial tics that they cannot suppress. But, all right, Pam, one of the things that people like about this podcast that we try to do is we try to bring people behind the scenes to actually understand what's going on behind closed doors. So tell us about your first day as Attorney General. You're confirmed, and like day one, when you get sworn in, just walk everyone through what day one of being Attorney General of the United States is like.
You go nonstop, and I jokingly said it felt like 15 years because you're working 7 days a week nonstop. We're all working with each other, and everything we do, it overlaps, and especially with Department of Justice, especially too with all this money going out, the USAID, all of these agencies, and we're going to be helping all these agencies, but you just hit the ground running, literally, and don't look back. I don't look at what time of the day it is. I don't think I've slept in 15 days, but you don't want to. And then when you find out about this human trafficking ring that was just broken up, it's just, that's why we're all doing what we're doing. And we just keep going forward. Our directive from our boss is so easy, especially on my end, make America safe. And so you just don't, Senator, you don't even, my hardest thing now is I forget to eat. You forget what time it is, and it's 6 o'clock at night, and I'm like, why do I have a headache? Because I haven't eaten today. But you're going nonstop. And it's not me, it's an entire team. I've got Chad Mizell, I've got Amel, I've got Todd Blanche, thank goodness, coming in, and we've got Kash Patel now.
To have a boss, a guy by the name of Donald J. Trump, who just lets you do your job.
Exactly.
I mean, there's a lot of presidents in the past that have really tried to keep their thumb on people. It seems like he's saying, go. And go get it done and call me when you need me.
Yeah, he has trusted all of us in all of our various capacities and all the different roles we have, whether it's education or agriculture, all the cabinet, labor, all of the different cabinet secretaries, just to go out and do the best we can. And we want to make all of you proud. And we want to fulfill his directive to make our country great. That man sure didn't need that job. He's a good friend of mine. Yeah. And I love during my confirmation hearing when they get on me because they say I'm friends with Donald Trump. Yes, I'm very. Yeah. No, I'm not friends with him. I'm good friends with him, and I'm very proud to work for him.
When you look at weaponization and politicization, part of it is using it to attack your political opponents, and we've seen 4 years of that under Joe Biden. Yeah. Another part of it is turning the other way at your political allies and refusing to enforce the law against them. And I think one of the most egregious examples we've seen over the last 2 years is the rising anti-Semitism on college campuses. Amen. The violent protesters and rioters, many of whom are not students, are not affiliated with the universities, and they are threatening students. You look at Columbia University, the Orthodox rabbi there sent out an email to the Jewish students on campus and said, do not come to campus because the university cannot and will not keep you safe. And the Biden Justice Department did nothing. They investigated nobody, they didn't follow the money, they didn't indict anyone, they didn't prosecute anyone, and they did not enforce Title VI of the Civil Rights laws, which say that if you are tolerating harassment on the basis of ethnicity or religion, that you will have your federal funds cut off. How is the Department of Justice different today, and what will your approach be to anti-Semitism and threats of violence directed against Jewish students on campus or any other students on campus?
We have an October 7th task force that we started, and we will protect you. When I was just a citizen, before I had this job, what you said, I'm watching these aren't peaceful protests. We all believe in peaceful protest. I'm sorry, unless you're a liberal and you don't want a parent to quietly pray outside an abortion clinic, or you're a Catholic, or a parent at a school board, they're going to call you a domestic terrorist. But I'm screaming at my TV watching these violent protests, the last, since October 7th, you're watching this happen, and all of our students deserve to be safe. And first of all, these students who are here on visas, who are threatening our American students need to be kicked out.
Amen! Yes!
It is refreshingly simple to have an attorney general who has the approach that you're going to follow the law and enforce the law. And that sadly has been missing for the last 4 years.
It's pretty basic, isn't it?
It should not be complicated. Let me ask you, what keeps you up at night? What scares you in the first 2 weeks of this job?
Pretty much everything. I don't sleep at night anymore. Of course, everything we talked about, the drugs, the cartels, maybe I'll get a little sleep tonight based on the arrests that were just made, the children that are being trafficked, things that have been so personal to me since I was a state prosecutor and then since I was state attorney general. Now you just get to help people on a bigger level, which is pretty cool to get to do that. But most recently, it's really been what Elon has been uncovering.
and the USA, the waste at EPA, this money, trillions of dollars, they believe, just being handed out, which is most likely making a round trip and going to terrorist organizations.
And you are on the front line of defending the president and Elon Musk and Doge and all the effort they're doing, and every day we are seeing Democrat attorneys general and Democrat interest groups suing the president, suing Elon Musk, suing the federal government, and the Department of Justice is on the front lines. And sadly, we're seeing left-wing activist judges, individual district court judges, issuing nationwide injunctions. Tell us about what it's like defending against those lawsuits, and give us your thoughts on the authority of one radical district judge to try to run the executive branch and issue a nationwide injunction.
2 words, we're winning.
I like that answer.
One unelected district judge trying to tell President Trump, who is elected overwhelmingly by the American people, where federal funds can go. We're winning. Even in liberal courts, by the way, Senator, we're winning. And if not, we're going to go all the way to the Supreme Court and keep winning.
Well, Pam, let me say, you and I have been friends a long time. I am thrilled with the job you're doing. I'm thrilled. I was thrilled when the president announced your nomination. And let me say, on behalf of 31 million Texans and Americans across this country, thank you. Thank you for stepping forward. Into defending this nation, into keeping my kids safe, keeping Ben's kids safe, keeping all of our kids safe. And thank you for remaining faithful to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and restoring integrity to the Department of Justice. It is desperately needed, and you're doing a hell of a job.
Thank you, my friend. And thank you for
Thank you guys so much for joining us for Cpac 2025. We are hopefully waiting for Elon Musk.
Watcher of the American Boy.
I mean, he didn't punch himself or anything, but I guess based on that.
Freedom, sovereignty, prosperity. The Patriots for Europe Foundation is on a mission to make Europe great again. Globalist elites have led Europe into a dead-end street. Violent crime has surged because of mass immigration. The Green Deal has put the future of the European economy at risk. Fake NGOs and the massive bureaucracy in Brussels are interfering in our democracies. Patriots must take action. We bring analysis. We organize debates. We build the network of patriots to challenge the woke narrative head-on. Patriots for Europe Foundation.
During my second term, we will fight for Alaska like never before.
I'm excited about what we can do with President Trump in the office.
Work together to provide affordable energy to Alaska and allies all over the world.
More investment, more certainty, production, more exploration.
Thank you to everyone in Alaska, and thank you to your great governor. I look forward to a long and enduring future relationship. Drill, baby, drill.
Hey, we have a great group of sponsors down at Cpac Central. Make sure you go down there, get all the merchandise you need, see all the companies that are fighting the woke crap in the country.
Thank you, Jericho.
Hear from our breakout panelists.
I needed to hear that. I wasn't sure.
And hear everything that's important at Cpac. Get down to Cpac Central today.
Thank you, everyone, for being here
Ladies
today.
and gentlemen, it's time for the Doge update. Please welcome Newmax host, Rob Schmidt.
That is a big crowd. And they are not here for me. How you guys doing? Nice vibe this year, right? After the best month we've ever had.
Yeah.
Nice to see you all. Thanks for coming out. Good to see you. I'm not going to kill any more time. Let's bring out Elon Musk. In case this wasn't enough, I'm going to let Elon do it. Who else is here?
Well, President Milei has a gift for me.
Javier Milei from Argentina. You guys know who that is, right? Why don't we bring him out? Stage prop. Thanks, guys. Have a seat.
So,
You're gonna film the whole time? Could you like go over there?
I'm living the meme. I mean, it's like there's living the dream and there's living the meme, and it's pretty much what's
I've only had it right.
and now it's real. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy.
But it's cool.
Let me ask you this. A year ago, if someone had told you you'd be at Cpac and working with the president to absolutely shred the government, the swamp, whatever you want to call it, would you ever believe that?
No. You know, thanks for your support. I mean,
Thank you.
I mean, we're trying to get good things done, but also like, have a good time doing it, and and have like a sense of humor, So, but like, I mean, the you can't make fun of anything. It's like legalized comedy.
Yeah.
Legalized comedy. And we've shifted the entire culture in just the last few months. The whole culture of this country has shifted dramatically just because of that election.
Yeah, exactly. Freedom of speech.
I see everybody doing it.
Fun and games.
Everybody doing it.
Like, 1 second. We should have a good time,
It's happening.
Yeah.
And everybody feels this great sense of relief because we were going.
My camera's no higher than my hat.
Yeah. Especially toward the end, it felt really. Yeah. What's it? How did that happen? What was the moment?
It's like dark gothic MAGA. For quite a while, leaning a little Democrat.
How do you vote for this?
Yeah, no.
How does that happen?
Well,
did they go crazy?
Yeah, they did go crazy.
Yeah, they were crazy.
It's trying to stop freedom of speech and infringe upon, just in general, infringe upon people's personal freedoms, state control of what you say. They want to, take away your guns. And the reason they want to take away your guns is like there's nothing you do to oppose them.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, I just like we just need to restore the fundamental elements of what made America great, which is freedom and opportunity.
We're seeing a lot of these freedoms disappearing in the West. It's not just about America. We're all watching Europe and knowing that, watching how they're devolving, and you're trying to save it from happening here.
No, I mean, in Europe, they put people in prison for memes.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's insane.
They're collapsing. I mean, this society it's a collapsing society. It feels that way.
It feels like
France was nicer 50 years ago than it is today.
Yeah.
I don't think you can question it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, really.
We love you.
I really just wanted to do useful things, like basically build products, provide products and services that are good, and it just like there was at a certain point no choice.
Can I ask you what, on the same side of that coin, what's it like from going neutral to being vilified? Largely vilified by the media.
What?
No. Turn on some of these channels, brother. I mean, they're angry at you. Does it bother you at all? Does it get to you?
I mean, when they're chanting for my death, I suppose that's a little. And then, like, the song's not even that good, and it's like, to call that a death chant? That's not.
There's a lot of music lately. It's not good music either,
Yes.
I would say that watching what you're doing with Doge is just that people love it. I mean, I've always looked at the government, and I've always looked at the government, and I've seen this big machine and you just know that they waste, because they don't care. There's more money coming, they don't care. You're cutting all this out. Everybody in this country knows that the government is full of waste, fraud, and abuse. And you're doing the work, and the Americans love it. Watching their reaction politically to this, I can't believe how bad they are at responding to this. I don't know how you're going to sit there and scream and complain because they're cutting waste out of the government and try to win another election. How do you try to win them?
Well, at this point, I'm not sure how much of the left is even real.
How much was propped up by our money?
Yeah. Where there's like hardly any people, and the media will like frame it and get all 6 people in the frame. There's like nobody else is there. Like it doesn't have popular support. But then you learn that like there's hundreds of billions of dollars going to these so-called NGOs. And it's your tax dollars that are funding things that are fundamentally anti-American.
And they're propping up the narrative. Yeah, a lot of that government money has been propping up a left that I don't think is as strong as they made it seem.
In fact, a massive amount of your tax dollars is going to legacy media companies.
Yes.
Directly from the government.
The government wants to take over.
Yeah, and
that's why you spent $44 billion. I mean, that's a lot of money.
I mean,
more than it was probably worth. But there was a message.
Pull the plug, baby.
Priceless. If you got to protect the First Amendment, it's not much more important than that.
Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of criticism, and people said, well, that proves he's a huge idiot from he bought it for whatever, $44 billion, and now it's worth like 8 cents. And
it's not worth 8 cents.
There's that. It was essentially to buy freedom of expression,
Once that's gone, it's all over. It's all over.
Yeah.
The tyranny is really quick after that.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the sort of federal money going to media companies is what it helps explain why the legacy media all says the same thing at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, isn't it like, it's like weird, like you put them up where it's like, like when
they're mouthpieces for
the state.
For the state.
Yes.
And that's what we've come to know.
Yeah.
It's scary.
And I like that meme where because they're always saying like threat to our democracy, but if you just replace democracy with bureaucracy, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Big threat to bureaucracy.
That's exactly right. Let's talk about these Doge dividend checks that everybody's talking about this week. I know you tweeted out that you're gonna. Does everybody want like a $5,000 check? And the best part about it would be knowing where it came from. That's $5,000 that you sent them last year.
Totally. It's money that's taken away from things that are destructive to the country and from organizations that hate you to you. That's awesome. I mean, that's like glorious. That's like the spoils of battle, you know?
Yes, exactly.
Love it. I talked to the president. He's supportive of that, and so it sounds like that's something we're going to do.
Yep.
So as we're finding savings, that's going to translate directly to reductions in tax. So.
Yeah.
Amen.
All right. They fired 6,000 people with the IRS. And I think Lennox said last night that they're talking about shutting down the IRS. The amount of money that we send Washington like $5 or $6 trillion a year, that is such an ungodly amount of money.
Yep.
I mean, what do they say? They say like 1 trillion seconds is like never have enough. There must be a lot you can cut.
No, absolutely. People ask me, what's the most surprising thing that you've encountered when you go to DC? The scale of the expenditures, and actually how easy it is to, when you add caring and competence where it was absent before, you can actually save billions of dollars, sometimes in an hour.
Yeah.
It's wild.
And then they scoff at it and say, oh, a few billion here and there. I mean, the way they're talking about it, you can see they don't care. It's such little money compared to how much they're used to wasting. That's what's really scary.
Exactly. But obviously, it just shows that they really lack empathy for the average taxpayer who's working hard, paying taxes, and then they say, oh, $1 million doesn't matter. I'm like, I think it matters a lot. People. So what are you talking about?
I'd like that. Let me ask you a question. I know the president fairly well, watched him survive 2 assassination attempts. Had the first one not happened, the second one would have got him. It was very, because without those extra guys, they would have never seen that gun poking through the fence at the golf course. I saw the crew that you.
Isn't it like mind blowing that this has happened? I mean, and what? By the way, why do we still know nothing about that guy in Butler? What's going on? He's just going to get to the bottom of it.
I saw that the security detail that you had come in is enormous.
Well, it's not that enormous. Maybe it should be bigger.
Right. You can probably afford it. But I mean, how concerned are you about your safety? Dealing, I mean, you are a wanted man. Are you nervous?
So, look, I'm open to ideas for improving security, I have to tell you. I don't actually have a death wish, I think. But it's not that easy. I mean, but I have I've had even people like President Bukele from El Salvador who managed to put in prison 100,000 murderous thugs, and he was he called me. He's like, I'm worried about your security. I'm like, you're worried about my security? Okay.
I mean, talk about guts to do that down there. I mean,
totally.
And then survive.
I was like, how did you put all those thugs in prison without dying? Because that would have been not easy.
Well, the president has one of his top attorneys is now investigating, I guess, Chuck Schumer for threats against SCOTUS. Basically saying, I mean, the rhetoric, you guys are screwing with things that are not supposed to be messed with.
Right.
And
We're fighting the
there's
Matrix.
a lot of people that really don't want that to happen.
Yeah, we're fighting the Matrix big time here.
Yeah.
It has got to be done.
Amen.
What's going on with, tell us about Fort Knox. It's Kentucky, it's a military base, it's a ton of gold, tons and tons and tons of gold.
5,000 tons of gold?
5,000
give or
tons
take,
of gold are there in the ground in like this, I mean, it's a very secure thing.
We all want to see it.
I'd love to see it.
Like, this is your gold, by the way. It's the public's gold.
Do you think it's not there?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I just want to see it.
Yeah, we want to go see it and just make sure like somebody did spray paint some lead or something, you know? You might have to fight the bar, you know. But I think, honestly, you know, part of this also is just like, let's have some fun and like I said, all this gold at Fort Knox, it's the public's gold. It's your gold.
Yeah.
So like, I think you have like a right to see it.
I think it's
Yeah, I think we should have a tour. And then the president last night was like, I think he's in favor of it. That would be cool. And then it should be like a live tour. Like you can see what's going on. Open the door. Like what's behind it. I'd watch that.
I mean, what is 5,000 tons of gold look like? How big is that? Is it the size of this?
It's gotta be pretty big, you know.
It's got to be a lot of
Maybe
gold.
there's some other stuff in there. Like just walk around. Like I don't know. Maybe there's some other stuff in there.
Are you thinking about auditing the Federal Reserve as well, which is obviously
yeah, sure.
Regulatory document. I imagine you think the waste has got to be everywhere.
Yeah, no, waste is pretty much everywhere. People ask like, how can you find waste in DC? I'm like, look, it's like being in a room, and this target, the wall, the roofs, and the floor are all targets. So it's like you can close your eyes and go shoot in any direction. You can't miss. You know? So it's pretty wild. Like you just push on things a little bit and you save billions of dollars. Like just a little bit. You know?
Yep.
Wow.
It's scary, isn't it?
That's why I say it, like it really is underrated. If you add caring and competence, how much things improve.
Yeah.
And you know, and we just find so many totally crazy things, and which, you know, we're sharing with the public. We post everything we learn. You know, just so you can see it. And like it's like, isn't it like it's been totally wild? Like we just did like check the database on Social Security. Like it says how many alive Americans eligible for Social Security are there? And according to the database, it's over 400 million. And we're like, wait a second.
And how many are you again? Yeah.
And then like we found like one person in there is like 360 years old. Like what they know, Brandon?
100 years or so. Yeah.
You know, America didn't exist before at that time. Like so, you know, maybe it's just me, but I think it's a red flag. I don't know.
Are there indications that the checks going to those people or any of those people?
Well, yes.
I guess the question, right? I mean, I get the Social Security Administration's dumb, but are they paying these people? Are they that dumb? I don't know.
A bunch of money is going out from the Social Security Administration, and in fact, from all entitlements programs.
$72 billion in waste in like 7 years. That's $10 billion a year.
Well, I think the
fraudulent payments.
The rough estimate from the Government Accountability Office is over $500 billion of fraud a year. 500 billion.
And how long time?
Per year.
Per year?
Oh my
on Social Security?
No, on all
on all government.
On all entitlements.
All entitlements.
All entitlements, yeah. It sort of actually makes sense when you look at the thing from a top level and say like, okay, the $7 trillion was spending by the government. What percentage do you think is fraudulent? Okay, exactly. Like a conservative estimate of the $7 trillion would be 10%. Conservative.
Probably a little higher than that, yeah.
Exactly.
Feels like a quarter out of every dollar, right?
But if the fraud's only 10% of $7 trillion, you've got $700 billion of fraud.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's like really easy to take advantage of the federal government. It's very easy.
Very easy. Look at COVID.
Yes.
Everybody got rich during COVID. I mean, look at all these scams. I mean, it's unbelievable.
It looks like, in terms of COVID payments, there was something like $200 billion of COVID payment fraud taken by fraudsters out of the country.
Oh my
That's
God.
like I think, listen, if there's going to be fraud, it should at least be domestic.
Right?
Keep the money home. But they managed to get $200 billion out of the country. I'm like, what? Didn't we notice that?
Let me ask you, let's do immigration here for a second. You know, there's this move now that Trump's latest thing is that he's going to cut funding, any kind of money that ends up in the hands of illegal immigrants. So if you're funding these sanctuary cities and states, that's how they pay for these hotels. That's all federal money. If you got a hotel in your city, in New York, you got all these hotels full of migrants, that's not state money, that's the feds are covering that. He's going to cut all that. It's really hard to deport 15 million people. And it seems like the move now is, let's see if we, especially at the rate that we're going, it seems like the move now is, let's make it so that they leave on their own. Right. If there's no longer a dole system for them, if they can't get their hands on hotel rooms and money, they're going to go back, especially if there's no work.
Well, I think it's really important for people to understand that the Biden administration sent any possible money that they could if there was money they could send to facilitate and amplify illegal immigration, they sent it. Okay, they took money from FEMA, meant for helping Americans in distress, and sent that money to luxury hotels for illegal immigrants in New York. That is an outrage. They actually did that. And not only that, even after the president signed an executive order saying it has to stop, the FEMA, the sort of whatever deep state bureaucrats still pressed send on $80 million last week to go to the Roosevelt Hotel in New York and other places last week. And now they're mad that it got stopped. And they're like trying to sue to have it be restored. Bring it up. It's like the gumption.
You think they're creating a new voter class? Do you think that was the goal when they opened up the borders for 4 years? Create a new voter class, get them citizenship, get them in. Green cards, vote.
A lot of these things, like you don't actually have to assume some grand conspiracy. You just need to look at basic incentives. So if the incentives, fundamentally, if the probability that an illegal is going to vote Democrat at some point, whether it's cheating, but eventually they can become citizens. But if the probability is like 80-90%, just look at California, which is supermajority Dem, and then the incentive is to maximize the number of illegals in the country. That is why the Biden administration was pushing to get as many illegals as possible and spend every dollar possible to get as many, because every one of them is a customer, every one is a voter.
Yeah.
And so the whole thing is a giant voter importation scam.
Pretty obvious.
Very obvious. And then they actually created the CBP1 Border Act thing, where they were, which is like where they were literally flying people in. It's not like at the point at which people are being flown in at your expense,
sending planes,
like building a wall. Doesn't matter. They're literally flying them in.
No other country in the world would do something like this. Nobody is this stupid.
Yeah, and then we found that there was like a $100 million contract given to some guy in London, actually, oddly enough, for the CBP1 app. So they're flying illegals into the swing states.
Yeah.
And if you've got like a margin of victory of maybe 20,000 people, and you fly 200,000 illegals into that state, it's not going to be a swing state for long.
No.
Yeah.
Change them. Eventually.
Yeah.
Maybe in 4 or 8 years, you're talking about
it's just a matter of time.
It's a long game.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
So it might take like a year for the Senate to see for something to get a green card and then 5 years for the citizenship. It's an investment that is guaranteed to pay off.
Yeah.
Just a question of when.
They all remember who brought them in and who left them.
Exactly.
I want to go back. I want to talk about Biden.
It's a big deal. I think a lot of people don't quite appreciate that this was an actual, real scam at scale to tilt the scales of democracy in America.
One more Biden question. I remember when you would do the electric car stuff, they would always try to box you out, even though you have the only electric car anybody wants. You said, I think this week, that you think that Biden left these astronauts up in space because he didn't want to give you an opportunity to save them, make NASA look bad, make the private sector look better, make you look good. You believe it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, of course.
I kind of agree. And you're supporting the president.
The Biden administration was attacking me next level. I mean, the Department of Justice or Injustice under the Biden administration was, I mean, they were suing SpaceX. They're suing SpaceX for not hiring asylum seekers. And we're like, but it's actually illegal for us to hire asylum seekers because rocket technology is covered under ITAR rules, which means it's an advanced weapons technology. Yeah. And so we can only hire permanent residents or or citizens. Right. Like, so we're damned if we do, damned if we don't. We said, like, so how can they sue us for not hiring asylum seekers when it's actually illegal for us to do so? And nonetheless, there was a big Department of Justice or Injustice case about this against SpaceX. So obviously it was an antagonistic situation. And those astronauts were supposed to be up there for 8 days, and now they're up there for 8 months. Does that make any sense? No. And we obviously could have brought them back sooner, but they didn't want anyone who supported President Trump to look good, basically.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
A lot of them are saying right now that the reason that you want to get into Social Security, that you want to get into all of these different, into Treasury and things like that, is that you're looking for personal information and you're trying to make more money.
Yeah.
I've never met anybody as rich as you that cared less about money in my life. Every time I hear a story about you, you're sleeping on a couch with some other guy in a city that you could buy the entire thing.
Yeah,
I don't think you care about money, do you?
No, actually, I mean, listen, like, if I steal some Social Security, I can finally buy nice things.
Yeah. And for that statement question, they're also talking about you guys are going to end Social Security, you're going to end Medicare, you're going to end these things. I don't imagine that conversation has been had with the president, and that's the plan.
No, in fact, the actions that we're taking with the support of the president and the support of the agencies is what will save Medicare, what will save Social Security.
Yeah! That's right. Oh! Yes!
Because if the country goes insolvent, if all the money is just spent on paying interest on debt, there's no money left for anything.
Yeah.
So that's the reason I'm doing this, is because I was looking at the big picture here, and it's like, man, our debt's getting out of control. The interest payments, the interest on the national debt now exceeds the entire Defense Department budget.
$1 trillion a year in interest. Just to carry the money that we owe is $1 trillion a year.
Yes.
That is unbelievable.
And rising rapidly. So like, I mean, a country's no different from a person. Country overspends, country goes bankrupt. Same as a person who overspends goes bankrupt. So it's not like optional to solve these things. It's essential.
Couple minutes left here. Russia. There's a huge push from the
Like, people are trying
to end this war.
Say like, you know, I'm a bought asset of Putin.
Yeah.
I'm like, you can't afford me.
You're trying to end a war. It's always, ending a war always means you have to compromise, you have to negotiate with an enemy or an adversary. That's just what it is. And right now, they are lambasting the president for trying a different method to war that they haven't been able to end for 3.5 years or 3 years.
Yeah.
They're saying Trump's blaming Zelensky for the invasion. How do you process all of the negativity toward him for trying to end this war?
Well, first of all, I think we should have empathy for the people dying at the front lines. That's the most important thing.
Amen.
People are dying, you know. How many more years is this supposed to go on? And imagine if that was your son, your father.
Amen.
You know, what are they dying for? What exactly are they dying for? The line of engagement has barely moved for 2 years. There's a whole bunch of people dead in trenches for what? And I'll tell you what for what. It's like for the biggest graft machine that I've ever seen in my life. That's for what. It's unreal. Like the amount of money that is being taken in graft and bribery is disgusting. And so what's actually happening is that those people, those poor guys are getting sent into a meat grinder for money. That's what's actually
That's
going on.
right.
That needs to stop.
And it seems, Trump is so pragmatic on this. He's just looking at it and he's saying it's Ukraine, it's not our country, it's not a NATO ally. I just want to see people not dying. I want to see on both sides. Think about how so many young men have died in Ukraine that the army is starting to age out. The military is aging out. You got 40 and 50-year-old guys fighting in a war because there's nobody left that's not killed or maimed in their 20s.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it. Think about how many people that is. If you're a humanitarian at all, you just got to end the war. No matter what. Just get it over with.
Yes, people, they need to stop dying. And the growth machine's got to stop, so, and I think people, a lot of people out there don't realize, the president has a lot of empathy. He really cares, He's a good man.
I got one more for you. I've been fascinated by you for a very long time.
Thanks.
I've never seen anybody that can, do so many things at the same time. You've got the rockets, you got the cars. I've always wanted to ask you, what is it like inside your mind? Is it just 1,000 miles an hour? Are you?
Yeah.
Is it just not? Does it ever stop? Do you sleep? How much do you sleep? Paint us a picture of inside of the mind of a genius. How do you do all this? Can you answer that question? It's not an easy question.
My mind is a storm. So, it's a storm. But let me tell you something. You didn't ask the question, but I think it's worth, nonetheless, maybe just elaborating on something, which is, I grew up in South Africa, but my morality was informed by America. I read comic books, played Dungeons and Dragons, and I watched American TV shows, and it seemed like America cared about being the good guys, about doing the right thing, and that's actually pretty unusual, by the way. It's like
in the world, it's very unusual.
Yeah, it's not like actually.
Most countries don't do that.
No, they don't.
No.
And so it's like, you want to be this good. You want to be on the side of good. You want to care about what's right, So that's what I believe in.
I think it's up at the end. Elon Musk.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, we're gonna take a break, y'all.
Hello, Cpac. Don't forget to vote in the Cpac straw poll. Your ID is on your badge. Scan the QR code and get your vote in.
So that painting that he was holding up was actually from the artist himself, who was sitting up close there, and he accepted the painting. How amazing is that for that artist? Wow.
I did. I switched, and it made all the difference. It made all the difference.
Have you made the switch? You should. Millions are switching in these maps, and you should too.
Sign off. Thank you so much, Elon Musk. Oh, just at the ending, there's been an artist running through here with his paintings. I think he's featured downstairs. He held up one of his large paintings and got it up. That was the coolest thing.
Android. C charger? Scanning C. Here.
All right, you guys. I don't know about you, but that was pretty. I hope. Love you guys. Pardon? No. Oh yes. Well, that was a nice treat there at the end, huh, guys? All right, as I said, I'm going to go ahead and check. I'd let you join us, but that's private time. How you doing, buddy? That's private time, you know, time off for the J6ers and for us to be able to socialize with them outside of the camera view. So, again, thank you all for being here.